On a quiet Sunday morning in Blanc, Michigan, a place of worship became a scene of horror. What began as a peaceful church service ended in chaos, gunfire, flames, and heartbreak. This is the story of how a devastating mass shooting and fire tore through a Michigan church, and the haunting questions that still remain. Far beneath the familiar white spire of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints stood a message that read, "Visitors welcome." For decades, that message symbolized openness, faith, and community. But on September 28, 2025, that same welcome became the doorway to tragedy. Inside the chapel, hundreds gathered for what the church calls Fast Sunday, a day dedicated to fasting, prayer, and charity. It was also a time of mourning. Just one day earlier, the faith's global leader, President Russell Nelson, had passed away. So members came together to pray, to reflect, and to find comfort. They didn't know that within minutes, their sanctuary would become a war zone. At around 10:15 a.m., worshippers had just finished the sacrament when they heard a loud crash. Witnesses recall the doors flying open and a four-door pickup truck smashing through the front of the building, two American flags waving from the back. Behind the wheel was Thomas Sanford, a 40-year-old former Marine and Iraq War veteran. Without warning, Sanford opened fire with an assault weapon, shooting into the congregation. Panic erupted. Families ducked under pews. Parents shielded their children. One member, Brian, tried to help elderly worshippers escape. His shirt soaked in blood as bullets shattered glass and echoed through the chapel. Others ran toward the exits, not knowing that fire was already spreading through the building. As gunfire rang out, Sanford poured accelerant inside the chapel and set it ablaze. Within moments, the red brick building was engulfed in flames. Thick black smoke swallowed the church's white spire, and the sounds of worship turned into screams for help. Police arrived just 30 seconds after the first 911 call. Two officers confronted Sanford in the parking lot, and after an exchange of gunfire, the attacker was killed. But by then, the fire had consumed much of the chapel. Firefighters battled the inferno for hours as survivors gathered across the street, weeping and praying. 4 people were killed that morning. 8 others, ranging from a 6-year-old child to a 78-year-old grandmother, were rushed to Henry Ford Genesis Hospital. Inside that hospital, some of the medical staff treating victims were members of the same church, tending to friends, family, and neighbors. Some striking nurses even left the picket line to rush to the scene, saying, "Human lives matter more than our labor dispute." When the flames died out, investigators began piecing together what had happened. They found traces of gasoline and what appeared to be homemade explosive devices inside the ruins. Authorities believe Sanford started the fire deliberately and that this was not a random act of violence. According to FBI reports, Sanford had expressed hatred toward the Mormon faith in the weeks leading up to the attack. A local council candidate said Sanford had approached him days earlier, ranting about destroying that church. The FBI is now leading the case, investigating the shooting as a possible act of targeted religious violence. By Monday morning, every missing person had been accounted for. But the church, once a beacon of faith and family, was declared a total loss. All that remained was debris, ashes, and grief. "It's devastating," one survivor said through tears. "I've gone to that church for 38 years. I lost friends today." Community members gathered at a nearby theater to pray, comfort each other, and ask why. Why such hatred could reach a place built on peace. As one neighbor put it, "I've seen a change in this world. There's so much hate, and I just don't understand it." The Blanc tragedy is yet another reminder of the rising violence in places meant for refuge: schools, synagogues, mosques, and now churches. As investigators search for answers, the community holds on to faith, even as their sanctuary stands in ruins. Because for those who survived, hope didn't burn down with the building. It still lives, in their prayers, their memories, and their unbroken faith. Folded hands in memory of the victims of the Blanc LDS church tragedy. Round pushpin if you found this story meaningful. Consider subscribing to Famous Crime Case for more real-life investigations and human stories.